Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Real podcast. Here is your host, Adam Ashba.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Real Estate Real. This is your host, Adam Ashba, and we have a special guest and a good friend, Mark Goodwin of eGoodwin Insurance here in Columbus, Ohio. Thanks, Mark, for joining.
Glad to, Adam.
Yeah, how are you surviving in this COVID-19 quarantine? You getting a lot of projects done at the house?
Oh, a little bit, but yeah, these are strange times, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think everyone's yards look nicer now than they've ever had. So anything to keep us busy. Well, today we're gonna talk to Mark a little bit about the different types of insurance plans and how the COVID-19 epidemic has influenced not only consumers but also businesses, and if there's different types of insurances that may or may not pay out during this time. So, Mark, can you just go briefly on the different types of insurances that that a consumer or business owner might be able to file a claim to help them through different types of circumstances that you've seen? And then we'll go into things that you've seen, claims that have been rejected, I guess. So
yeah,
whenever you're ready.
That's a real hot topic in my industry right now, Adam.
Sure.
You know, there are a number of types of insurance that could be responding to the virus. I mean, health insurance, of course, life insurance, unfortunately, travel insurance, it could be responding for some people. Event insurance, people cover weddings, they cover seminars, they can buy, Wimbledon had a big payout. In 2003, after the SARS epidemic, they bought a event policy that included a pandemic and virus outbreak. And they bought that from Lloyd's of London. Yeah, and they for 17 years, they've paid $2 million a year for that policy. And this year, they're collecting $141 million on it.
Jeez. So there is an actual rider that a business owner can purchase, a normal business owner can purchase for something like this?
Well, I wouldn't call that a
normal. Or is
normal.
it more of a specialty? That was a specialty situation.
Yeah, it's very much a specialty, Adam.
Okay.
That's called an event policy.
Okay. All right.
So you would buy that for the Wimbledon, or you'd buy it for the Masters, or you would buy it for an NCAA tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
On a much smaller scale, it's not unusual to buy that on a wedding.
Oh, okay.
Right? Or maybe you're renting a room at the country club for an event, a birthday party. You can buy an event policy on those. So that's kind of a specialty thing, as you point out. But but Wimbledon's the only one I've heard say that they bought one and they had it specifically written for them by Lloyd's of London so that it would pick up a pandemic or a virus.
Interesting. Okay.
It's very common to see a pandemic specifically excluded in an insurance policy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, because that's been the issue lately with business owners when they are saying that they've been affected by their business. Obviously, it's been detrimental to their business, and they're filing like lost revenue claims or what have you. But there's a specific language in there that basically said it has to be like physical damage, not a pandemic. Correct?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would say I told all of my business owner clients, let's go ahead and file a claim.
Okay. And what kind of claims, if you don't mind, what kind of claims were they filing?
It would be a business interruption claim saying because of this virus, I was unable to conduct business and I lost money.
Okay. All right.
And the reason I wanted them to go ahead and file it, even though in my opinion, it's probably not going to be covered. Number one, as an insurance agent, that's not an insurance agent's job. My job is to take care of my customers, turn in the claim, and let the insurance company, they have a duty of good faith to review every claim.
Okay.
Rather than make a blanket, nope, not covered, don't even bother turning in all of your claims, all my business owner clients.
Mm-hmm.
They have a duty of good faith to review each one. But another reason I wanted them to turn in a claim is because I knew that there would be some sort of government payout coming down the road, some sort of relief. You see that, for hurricanes and flood, from FEMA.
Right.
I know in the past for certain hurricanes, when a business owner turns in a claim, the insurance company will say, well, did you exhaust all other possible sources of income, like your insurance policy? And they want you to get that denial in order to qualify. Now, in this case, like the payroll protection plan and the emergency loan, I've seen the applications for it. They're not asking that. But we're not done providing relief either. I don't know what's going to be coming next. So I thought it would be prudent to get that claim denial in hand for my customers. Plus, you don't know legislatively what may happen. I mean, that's a hot topic right now, too. There are 4 states, including Ohio, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, that are trying to file legislation that will make insurance companies pay out a business interruption claim due to the virus.
So if that happens, are they asking for like 100% of, or a percentage? Because that literally, like, put it in perspective, and I don't know if this is official, but rumor has it that the Paycheck Protection Program that came out that first week and a half in April is gone. That
Right.
$348 billion is gone. And I know they had it earmarked up till midsummer. So if that's already gone, then that would put every insurance company out of business immediately.
Well,
right?
and I think the loss of business that's happened in the marketplace, I've read numbers in the trillions. Of course, it's all a guesstimate right now.
Right.
But to your point, if an insurance company is told that they're responsible for paying that to their customers, or even a portion of that, and the insurance company never anticipated having to pay for that, never collected premium with that in mind, that they would then have to pay that out, it would decimate the industry.
Right. Absolutely.
And that would trickle down to all of us then in the form of, higher rates. For the ones that stay in business, for them to recoup that sort of money that they are forced to pay out, we'll all pay for that. And then there's that whole can of worms of an insurance policy. As you know, Adam, it's a legal contract. It gets approved by every state department of insurance. And so if you can go in theoretically and say, all right, we're changing that contract retroactively, what does that say about any legal contract now?
Right.
That's kind of a scary thing. It's a slippery slope that I think politically for these states to be trying to do that, it probably looks good to their constituents.
Sure.
But I think in practice, it's a scary thing.
Yeah. Because I think we were talking about this a week or so ago. There's language within those insurance riders that specifically say, like, pandemics or that's not covered, right?
Yeah, you will see in a lot of policies, they have things that they cover and things that they exclude, and it'll give a list of things that are specifically excluded, to your point, Adam. And a virus and a pandemic is typically excluded in a business owner's policy. The other thing with getting it's called business interruption insurance. For you to get that, what triggers it is physical damage to your premises. So if I have a restaurant and wind blows the roof off and I can't be open, right? Or I have a fire and I can't be open because of that, that triggers business interruption coverage. In the case of the virus, for instance, the first court case filed was by a fish restaurant in New Orleans. They filed that last month. and they
Okay.
claim that the virus is causing physical damage to their restaurant. And what they're going to have to prove is that virus existed in the restaurant and it can live on a physical surface there. And, I don't know if they'll be able to prove that in court or not, but that's what you would have to do, I think, to trigger a physical damage loss to get that business interruption. And in their case, they had, just like Wimbledon, a Lloyd's of London who writes very unusual policies. They did not have an exclusion for a virus like 90%, I would say, the business owner policies out there do have.
Right. And I think to make it clear, Mark, you represent a multitude of insurance companies. So that when Mark talks about this, he's not loyal to one specific insurance company. He's speaking on kind of a broad picture. And
yeah, that's right, Adam. I probably have 15 to 20 insurance companies
Right.
that our job is to shop for our clients and place them with the company that is going to serve them best in protection and price.
I know an issue that we have at my brokerage with clients, and they have rental properties and residential and commercial. They've asked, like, can I file a claim? Because, for example, renters aren't paying rent because of issues. I mean, it could be legitimate, it could not be, and that includes businesses have had issues, and that's been a sore subject for a lot of blue chip companies, that they are sending out blanket turning letters to landlords throughout. This is a worldwide issue with some large companies that saying, hey, due to this issue, we're just not paying you rent. And between you and me, they have the means to do it, but I think some people are maybe taking advantage of the situation or not. But for people who own commercial buildings or multi-unit or just a single family home, they have a renter. At this point, it's probably a moot point, but there wasn't really an insurance policy, a typical standard insurance policy that would cover something like this, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
An insurance policy will give loss of rent coverage, but it goes back to that's only triggered by physical damage.
Yeah.
You lost rents because your apartment was not habitable due to a fire or what have
you.
you.
Tornado or hurricane.
Exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not because, your renter just wasn't paying rent. There's not coverage there's not deadbeat renter coverage.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Now, would you recommend them filing a claim, even though they more than 99% chance are going to get denied anyhow, to have a paper trail in case there is some sort of?
I would.
You would. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I would. I don't know if that's going to end up being helpful or not.
Okay.
But if it does, just like we saw the payroll protection money just go like that. You either got in quick with your claim or you didn't get it.
Yeah.
Well, if something comes along where, like the FEMA disaster thing I mentioned, where you had to show that you tried, I would rather have that attempt documented and in hand and be first in line for that relief.
Yeah. That's a good point. Is there any types of insurances that you've seen besides Wimbledon? I can't talk today. But besides that it has paid out, that you've seen or might pay out, different type, anything that a consumer might have that they actually might get some sort of reimbursement for?
I have not.
Okay.
I've seen a couple homeowner situations that are unique in that there was already damage to the home that was covered. In two cases, it was a fire. The family had to move out while the contractor came in and repaired.
Okay.
Well, there is additional living expense coverage in a homeowner policy for exactly that. If I've got to go live in an apartment while my home's getting repaired, well, in one case, the contractor was not available to come in because he said because of the virus. And
Okay.
usually that additional living expense is for 30 days or a certain period of time, right? So the insurance companies that in these two cases responded and extended the amount of money and the length of time they would pay.
Okay.
But again, that was already triggered by something that happened to the house.
Okay.
Yeah,
And it was just delayed due to the COVID-19.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
The other thing the industry is doing, you might have hear some ads, is on auto insurance. Different companies are giving clients a break for 2 months in the form of a credit. Allstate and Travelers, 15% of your monthly premium, they're going to give you a credit. So if I'm paying $100 a month for my auto policy, they'll give me a $15 credit for 2 months.
Okay.
State Farm is doing that, and it seems to, they're kind of all over the place on who they're doing it for, but up to 25% a month. Nationwide is just giving a flat $50 per month. So in a lot of cases, that may be more money.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's free money. So with that in mind, is that something like for Nationwide, for example, do you have to call them, your agent, say, hey, can I get my discount, or they're just doing it as a blanket?
Yeah, Nationwide and Travelers are two companies I represent, and they're just doing it. The other companies that I don't represent, I can't say for sure. I'm guessing they're just going to do it too.
Okay. All right. So it's not anything a customer needs to get that in motion.
True. Now, a customer may, if they're having trouble with the bill, they may call their agent or billing at the insurance company and say, I'm having some issues. And while they may not tell you never have to pay them, they may work out where you can stretch out your payments a little bit or skip a month. I think an insurance company will work with clients at this time.
Okay.
But they're not going to forgive the premium. They're going to collect it, but it may just be down the road as opposed to right now if you're out of work or something.
Okay, like a forbearance.
Forbearance,
doing
yeah.
them more. Okay, right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, that money will be paid, but just not today.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you think that, I mean, going forward, there'll be riders that you can put into your insurance premiums for something like this going forward?
I do. I think you're going to see this treated just like after 9/11, terrorism coverage became available, right?
Okay.
And before that, that was not something you could buy. And it was kind of like flood insurance. It's backed by a government fund, right? Insurance companies don't pay for flood. FEMA does. Flood insurance is paid by the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
Same if there's a claim. Same thing with terrorism coverage. And I don't think there's ever been a terrorism claim paid in America, right? But it has been offered ever since 9/11, and you sign off every year, I want it or I don't want it. So I think the industry is going to do the same thing with coronavirus. In fact, there is already some legal policy language drafted by, it's called ISO, Insurance Services Office. They provide the legal language for all the insurance companies for coverage. Well, they already have put that out there. So if an insurance company wants to adopt that and offer it to their companies, they're going to have to figure out how they're going to charge for it. You know, what's going to be the right price where we're not gouging the customer, but if we get claims, we can afford to pay them. That'll be something that has to be figured out. But there is already federal legislation. A senator out of California has proposed it. It's got bipartisan support, and it says that business interruption coverage will have to include pandemic and virus going forward. They're not trying to make it retroactive like those 4 states I mentioned are.
Yeah, that's
But going forward, it needs to be covered. And you will probably either, as a business owner, have the option to buy it or not buy it.
right. And it's probably going to be significant because
Probably will be expensive, I would guess.
I would think so too. Yeah.
If you think about all the lost revenue that businesses have had. And business interruption has what's also called contingent business interruption, right? So let's say I'm a restaurant and I buy all of my meat from a particular source. Well, if that particular source is not in business or is delayed in business because of the virus, that's a contingent business interruption. You pay on that as well. So you're talking about, in this case, it's got to be trillions of dollars of lost revenue.
Right.
So going forward, if an insurance company is going to be responsible for paying for that, that's a lot of money.
And we're only a month in. And really, I mean, well, maybe just a little over a month. And yeah, I don't know if we're even halfway through yet, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know either.
And it'll be probably a slow progression.
Yeah, and we hope we don't see it again. And I would imagine, but if we do, I would think there'll be a lot of lessons learned from this time where maybe our response, if we get a second round, will be different in some ways.
Any advice that you can give a business owner or a consumer going forward in this concerning their insurance?
I would say just pay attention. Don't ignore what comes in the mail from your insurance companies. Don't ignore what your insurance agent may have to say. Don't be afraid to reach out to your insurance agent to say, I've got some questions, or I've got some concerns, or I'm paying X amount. Do I have the right amount of insurance? Am I paying too much for my insurance? And if you're not comfortable with that, then look for someone else. There are a lot of us out there, but there are a lot of very good conscientious agents who are staying on top of this sort of thing, who want to hear from you, who want to give you good advice, who want to make sure you have the protection that you need going forward, but it's at a fair price that's not going to hinder you financially as well. And that's what we as agents want to do for you.
And with you, you represent a multitude of different insurance companies. You can, if someone reaches out to you, and we'll put your contact information in the description below, but you can take what their goals are and place them into what company best fits their needs. Right? Yeah,
we try to, I want to take that shopping exercise away from my customers and let us do it, because we know the marketplace. We represent a significant number of companies where I'm pretty comfortable I can place you what's going to be a very fair price and the right protection.
Right. Well, one last question for you, Mark, before we get off here.
Make it easy.
Okay. Who cuts your hair? Because your hair looks nice and short. So,
you know what? I pulled out the clippers I use on my dog.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did, man. And I had my wife just.
Okay.
Now the top's getting a little, it's getting a little long. I'm not wearing a hat like you. I'm not sure.
I know it's getting bad. So.
Yeah, that's a little more than I'm used to. Besides dog clippers.
Well, next time I see you, you'll have a beard like me, probably. So
it'll be a little more gray than yours, but it could happen.
That's okay. But I appreciate it, Mark. Thanks for the good information, and it's great. More information and legitimate information, the better, and that's the whole premise that we're trying to get out there. So, Mark, how do they give a little plug on the business? How do they get a hold of you? And again, I'll put all that information in the description below.
Yeah, website is probably the easiest. eGoodwininsurance.com. You'll get our phone numbers, our emails. You can request quotes for home, auto, business insurance right on there. It's very easy, very user friendly. So I would say that way. Facebook, eGoodwin Insurance, pretty active on there. We put videos and advice and things are always there. And then the phone number, you'll put that out as well. You can always call us direct too. We're always here to talk.
Great. Well, thanks again, Mark.
Yeah,
again, that was Mark Goodwin of eGoodwin Insurance. One thing too that Mark does, I think it's really cool that I've seen, is that he can do a video virtual what do you like to show the different premiums and things.
Yeah, we do.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, we'll send you a video, so we're just right there on your screen showing you. Usually, I'll give you 1, 2, or 3 choices on your insurance. Platinum, gold, silver. Compare them, and then let you decide what works.
Yeah,
best
I think that's really great. I'm all about that. So, well, thanks again for listening to this episode of the Real Estate Real podcast. I'm your host, Adam Ashbun. Thanks again, Mark, for joining us on this episode, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Real Estate Real. Check us out on all the major podcast platforms, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Like us on our fan page on Facebook at Real Estate Real, and let everyone know that this is the best podcast in America.